Hey everybody, Rob here. It's time for a couple of new ProRevenge stories. First one, a big company and its new manager held off our pay. We took in all their sales. Let's jump right in. Let's try something different. I'm going to respond to every single comment on this video, whether it's about the video or not. But please listen to the end, because I think you're really gonna like these stories. This story is a year old, and I hope this falls in the ProRevenge category. Premise: I work for a technology company, which falls in the startup and medium enterprise category. Let us refer to this as my company. We were working on creation of an Internet of Thing, IoT, based product for large industries. But as we were new to the domain, we had hired a couple of industry experts to help us understand the domain and help us with understanding the gaps. This is a common practice. Enter bigger company, a company that has been dealing with devices for over 15 years now. They had a product in our same domain named Big Product. They had Big Product version 5 running in various places, which was built on legacy stack. Their new version, Big Product 6.0, tanked really hard among their clients, and they needed someone who dealt with better technology to help them build their product, and that brought them to us. The coming of bigger company was really good for our product, as they had really good insights to bring to the table. As being a major player, they wanted us to build Big Product 7.0 instead of our product, but being a product company, that was out of scope. Thus, we decided to be API providers for back-end capabilities while the UI looks different. Think of it as different buttons in your web page, but similar functionality. We were also responsible for bundling and deploying the application. Legally, we have signed a contract says my company clearly owns the code, and they have no right to see or recreate our code, just to make us indispensable as API providers for bigger company. Things have been going well for both of us, and both products were shaping up well. Incident: suddenly, one day, bigger company gets a new guy to handle the product, big manager, and we see some red flags immediately. Major escalation and blame gaming for every deployment and everything, eventually to a point where we were tired of the engagement with bigger company. We were targeting a major product expo for October 2019, and so were they. With the big manager came in some associates who kept asking technical questions and logic and stuff and pestering our developers. This led to a suspicion that they were trying to micromanage and peep in on our tech stack, which made our team work on better encryption for our code, essentially making things even better for us. He changed a few keys in the database and complained that there was a bug. We sealed off the database. He decided not to pay for the engagement, showing our incompetence. He also sold the license to the product without paying us to some of his clients. One fine day, they called a junior developer asking some doubts, which resulted in him joining a call with them. The link was soon shared in our team's chat, and almost all of us, including my CEO, joined the call. Now, we promptly had things recorded. Our plan was simple: make sure that their product doesn't get presented for the major expo. We pulled sufficient proof to prove that there was non-compliance with our contract. The next day, we pull in the legal team and decide to call off the engagement. We also hand over the entire documentation on the same day. The team pulled an all-nighter also. We had seen this coming. One of the things that was scheduled for next week was to make their deployment HTTPS compliant. Now, for most on-premise deployments in plants, people really don't go with SSL-enabled products, but for the Expo, a secure deployment was mandatory. They did not have this, which meant they can talk about their product, but can't show it in real time. We actually were open with a try it out for free. Now, things looked bad for them for the Expo, but they were still bigger players and had a larger client base. We changed the look of our product and called it Our Product 2.0. It is the same product, but it looks different, and word got out that Big Product 7.0 runs on Our Product 1.0, and man, our stalls were filled with their clients who were not pleased with their earlier product, 6.0, the one that tanked. What Big Manager might have never understood is what actually happened wrong for him. With every escalation mail he sent, our team became slower for him. We pushed him to a place where he decided to build his own. What he did not realize was that was exactly what we wanted him to do. We had started the preparation of 2.0 in parallel for the expo. We had every intention of ditching them before the expo. We had no intention of upgrading their security for the expo. Soon after the expo, we canceled license to all their clients, and when they came barging in the doors of Bigger Company, they pointed to us. We were more than happy to reinstate their products, and as a gesture for their inconvenience, we gave them our product 2.0 with no migration charges. Bigger Company currently doesn't sell the software, or do they? They are pretty much irrelevant. Okay, that one was a little hard to follow, but there was a comment that had a really good TLDR. It says, basically, they took a product that two companies were working on to make better and pulled the project at the last second, so the Bigger Company didn't have anything to show at the reveal event because the Bigger Company's asshat manager had been trying to steal and copy their product in the first place. This caused the Bigger Company to look bad, and all their clients switched to the smaller company who had their shit together. On to our next story. You scared me with one of my biggest fears, so I made you go face to face with yours. Let's jump right in. Okay, so my cousin is a prankster. She likes telling jokes, and one of her favorites is during the holidays, she likes to tell me my uncle, her dad, is coming to pick me up. If I'm being honest, my uncle is not a nice man. He yells at me and everyone for everything. He lies about people to make them look bad and him look good. He makes fun of me for being overweight. He's very verbally abusive. It's gotten to the point where I've pretty much gray rocked him, which is basically no contact. And her favorite prank is telling me that he's coming to pick me up to take me to family gatherings, which I usually avoid going to if he's there. And 2 hours in the car with him, that's literally hell. So, a couple weeks ago, she lied and told me he called and was gonna come pick me up for my birthday. I felt like I was having a panic attack. I remember crying, hyperventilating. I was pacing back and forth, trying to figure out some way out of it. And yes, visiting him is just that bad. She started laughing. I told her that's not funny. She knows how I feel about that man. She said, "Don't you feel better now that you know he's not actually coming?" I haven't forgotten that. It's been 2 weeks. I've had enough of that prank. I wanted to prank her to kind of get her back. I remembered her biggest fear, clowns. She's been scared to death of clowns since she was a kid. So I had a friend that's over 6 feet tall dress up in a scary looking clown suit. I told her I got a free dinner for 2 coupon for my birthday to her favorite restaurant and wanted to share it with her to bait her. We left and I had my clown in place. The plan was to stop on the middle of this old rural road and stop the car at a specific spot where my friend was hiding. Everything went to plan. My friend parked his old junk car in the ditch on the side of the road. I stopped and said we need to check it out, see if they need help. While she's looking in it and looking around for the owner, I sneak back to my car. My clown runs out of an old barn and straight for us. She saw him, froze, and started screaming. She ran to my car, but I sped off before she could get in. I didn't abandon her. I just drove over a hill to where she couldn't see me from where the old car was and watched in my rearview mirror. She tried running with the clown chasing her, screaming for help. He caught up to her and she got on her knees and started crying. He laughed and revealed it was a joke. I drove back and started laughing with him. She told me that wasn't funny, and I repeated what she told me. The "don't you feel better" line. She screamed and yelled the whole car ride with me that I could have scared her to death. I told her that's how I feel when she tells me about my uncle. Honestly, I think the cousin was just being a gigantic asshole. I mean, who does that to somebody knowing that it's going to make them feel that way? I'm glad she got a taste of her own medicine. Always remember, the best revenge could be to do unto others as they would do unto you. On to our last story. They tore up my grandfather's garden. He tore up their car. Let's jump right in. My dad told me this story a few years back. My grandfather lived in a really rural area in Georgia. This was around the late 1930s, early 1940s. My grandfather owned a farm and had a garden. He had planted various veggies. Well, the only neighbors were about a mile away, and for some reason, the neighbors would drive their Model T through the garden, tearing up the veggies. My grandpa would have to replant the garden. The neighbors kept doing this, so here comes the revenge part. My grandfather dug holes around the garden and stuck metal poles into the holes. He covered up the holes with leaves. A few days later, the neighbors drove through again. My dad said they tore the undercarriage out and had parts strewn all over the place. He couldn't remember what happened after that, but I don't think they did that again. The comments on this one have a bunch of similar stories, but the top ones are these. When I was a boy, we lived on a corner lot about 1 block from a fairly well-used back road. Someone thought it would be cute to skip the stop sign by driving through our yard. They did this only at night. My brother and I took it upon ourselves to pound some metal poles into the ground all around the perimeter of the yard. My brother excitedly woke me up in the middle of the night to inform me that we had gotten the culprit. Apparently, one of the poles went right through the radiator of the idiot's car. Nobody drove through the yard again, so we removed the poles. My best friend's dad did something like this, but with a trash can. There was a group of teens that kept running over the trash cans, so best friend's dad dug a hole, threw some concrete in the bottom, then stuck a steel pole in the concrete just above the ground enough to cause chaos on a car's undercarriage. Let it dry, then place the trash can on top of it and wait. They came in the middle of the night, and that car never ran again. Dude's dad had the stones to attempt to argue it was malicious. My grandparents lived at the end of a T intersection where people had a hard time stopping before running into their yard. It wasn't too big of a deal to clean up most of the time, as they didn't really maintain a nice looking yard. And it could even be entertaining as smaller cars would get stuck and need a tow, which they'd happily provide for a fee. The house was 80 feet from the road, so they didn't lose much sleep over it. That is, until one day a truck managed to hit the house. After that, they installed a decorative fence using railroad ties installed vertically, 2/3 buried in the ground, backed up with diagonal supporting ties. It was a solid wall, a foot thick, waist high. It was still perpendicular after dozens of hits. Eventually, the city put up flashing lights and reflective signage because they got tired of cleaning up the wrecks. I don't understand why some people have a need to destroy other people's property. I mean, how were you brought up? I want to thank all 3 OPs and the commenters for posting in the ProRevenge subreddit. You can visit them at the links in the description below. Please go there and give them all an upvote. Once again, this is Rob from Karma Comment Chameleon saying thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and share it with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one.